Hello, 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 sleepers. This is Michael Palisak. Welcome to I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. Thank you for tuning in, for listening, and typing in. Thanks for typing in. Thanks for clicking. Thanks for linking up. Thanks for thanks for being here. If you're not watching it, if you've seen it already, if you're watching the podcast, you've seen it. This is a different location. I'm not in witness protection. That is not what's going on. Basically, as a comedian, which we talked about before, I've told you before, this hasn't been a two-way conversation very often, but I feel like it is because I like hearing from everybody, and I just appreciate it when I do. But I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm in Las Vegas, which is Spanish for something. Vega, plural of Vega, many Vegas, and then feminine Las. So I didn't just get. This is the first episode, I think, maybe the second one. This is episode 16, by the way. Welcome, sleepers, people who listen to I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. This is the first one on the road. I did like one. Let's go through the history. That's important. This is my first one. I had a show tonight, so I thought about recording it Sunday night after I just got Jack to sleep, and I was like, no, this is a Monday show. People will be thrown off if I'm talking about Sunday stuff on Monday. How could I even consider that I could record this on No. If I'm anything, it's that it's people will know, and I'll have to tell them, and also I ran out of time. It's a lot, being a dad. So I just got my kid to sleep about 24 hours ago. I don't know. It's pretty late here. It's on the Tuesday morning. If I did just get Jack to sleep, that'd be pretty late. So I'm in Las Vegas for the week. So please forgive me for not aligning with the podcast's mission of only performing right. Because it was either record on a Sunday, which is probably that would have been the most legal to do it Sunday after I got Jack to sleep, or to like FaceTime him to sleep and then do the podcast, or I'm not gonna skip it. There's no way. You're not getting rid of me that easy. Just booking me. I think we'll just understand. We'll just see how it goes. Maybe this is I just got my kid to sleep and then went to Vegas. I'm in Vegas, Las Vegas. I'm at the MGM Signature Hotel. This is here's my room number and other personal information. I am performing at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club at the MGM Grand, and the MGM Signature is the hotel down the street from you on that way. And so yeah, that's where I'm at. I am fatherless. Nope, that's not true. I have a father, and he is alive and healthy. I'm sonless for the moment. I am the road Michael, road dad, rogue road dad. It is a challenge. I usually leave town. I usually leave my child in the middle of the week. And for all those parents out there that have to travel for work, I think we all relate to the bittersweet moments of it. When they're babies, I feel like a little sweeter. I feel like babies are so much work. There's so much like just heavy lifting involved. Like literally, you're putting so much stuff in the car to go places. You got to schedule. You got to do a nap. You got to give food. You got to, make sure everything is everything. And if you do anything, they might not even be able to walk yet. Like, I remember going on the road. I remember because that's why I'm talking about it. I don't think I have to say I remember anymore because, of course, I remember. If I didn't remember, I would be making it up. And I don't think anybody's questioning that, That would be an interesting way to begin a conversation. Michael, how was it being the parent I feel like the parent child of a baby versus a 5-year-old. And I would have to say, if I didn't remember, I'd say, well, I would like to make this up. I would like to make this up right now. Please accept the fact that this is fiction. And I think I lost myself kind of in that one. No, wouldn't that be interesting? I like that. I think it's weird that people have to introduce the factuality behind their conversations. Like, I was doing a podcast one time, and this guy said, to be honest. And I don't really say, maybe I do say to be honest, but I feel like I just kind of say whatever I think will make the other person feel good. That's sad. And then I just have to believe it. I'm a pleaser. That's my default. And I say that, and it's not a good, I think people think, oh, you're whatever. I don't know what people think. What do you think? It's a thing. Like it's not a it's like a vice, I think. I'll say it's a vice. It's not a fun vice. Like concerning yourself with the thoughts of others and adapting your conversation and what you do towards them. I don't do it all the time, but I feel like it's definitely something I fall into. And I think we can blame it on whatever. I think it's because I was a middle child, and I'm very grateful for my brothers. So I wouldn't want my parents just to not have other kids. So I didn't do this. But I think that we all want people to be happy, but I think we all want people to like us. And so I don't know. I think we can't always be honest, for sure. But I don't think we have to call it out when we're being honest, right? When you say, to be honest, you're really about to say something where it's like, I realize that this might be inappropriate for me to tell you, and this might not be what you're expecting. And to be honest is just a little quicker. I just think it's, especially if like you're talking about something personal and your friend's like, can I be honest with you right now? Well, what am I going to say? No. Yes, be honest, or be better at pretending to be honest. Anyway, I think it's weird that we have to say that. So I remember, that's where all that came from. Of course I remember. That's why I'm talking about it. When Jack was a baby, like 1 or whatever, or 2 or 0.5. 0.5 to 3/4. I wish I would have thought of that when he was that age. Everyone's like, months. How about just 0.5? He's going to be 0.5 soon, or just a half. If you're a math person, you can just say half. He's half. He's half a year old. That's so much work, and I'm not complaining about it. A lot of people have been watching my video on Instagram, which I'm on Instagram too. If you don't already follow me from there, check out the reels. We're doing every day now. And if nothing else, they are there. And I think they're interesting and fun. And you get to see what's like. See, when you listen to the podcast, you get about like 53 minutes to an hour of me for this slice of my life right after I got my kid to sleep. In this case, right after I, wandered around Vegas trying to get food. But if you check out the reels, you can check out, what's Michael doing every day? Sometimes I record 2 in one day, but it's like, what's it like? It's just a way to check in. So I remember when Jack was a baby, it was way harder than now, because I remember leaving him then and feeling like I remember I'm just going to keep saying I remember. We're not fixing it today. Rome wasn't built in a day. I remember was not taken out of my podcast conversation dialogue vocabulary in one night. I almost talked into the water like it was a microphone. I heard the echo. I wonder if that's how microphones were invented. Someone was talking into a plastic bottle of water, and they're like, we should do this electronically. I don't think it was, because plastic hasn't been around that long. So anyway, when Jack was a baby, I was working in Chicago, and he was in California with his mom, not just in California. He wants to be a movie star. So I said, check it out, see how it is. No, he was a baby. That's where he was born. And that's all the personal information you're getting. No, everyone's cool. Um, and I remember missing him and watching videos of him with my mom in Chicago, thousands of miles away. I think it's thousands. I've never driven it. I feel like I can tell how far places are when I drive. I keep shaking this table. This table's a little wobbly. This is my first time in this new studio, as in, I mean, the hotel room. You got a cool background over here. Well, it's pretty cool. It's just my reflection. And then I'll do this real quick. Whoa! For the audio listeners, I just showed a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. And if you pause it and try to look into the camera reflection, what you're looking at, into the mirrored window, into the phone, I think you could look forever. You might be looking so long that you're not even listening to this anymore. I don't know if that's possible, but I did think about that because when I set up the camera, I at first had the reflection of me because I thought that was like a cool with the light and everything. But then I was like, no, someone might just look. You can look forever. The reflection goes on forever and never and never and never. So when Jack was a baby, I was visiting my mom and dad on my way to shows. I wasn't just leaving my child to visit them. A lot of times I fly into a hub and I'll drive from there or whatever. And I was showing my mom like videos of my child. And I remember just looking at those videos and being like, this is way easier to just look at the videos. Because at that age, when you're there, I feel like if you're away for a little bit, like for all the parents that travel a lot for work, when the kids are babies, if you're away for a little bit, I feel like you just still enjoy the pictures and the videos. Because when you're there for a little bit, it's so hands-on. If you're a hands-on type person, if it's just like you and your significant other or whatever, like if there's no, you don't have like babysitters and stuff or family. If it's just you all the time, 24/7, that's a lot when they're babies. That's so much that you can leave and enjoy the videos a lot because you're like, because I would leave for a couple days for shows, come back, and I would see him and see him in person and have him and hold him, and the joy of it. It was always joyful coming back at that age, but the joy of without any connected like, what do I gotta do now? Like, how do I, like, doing the math in my head? Like, how do we get sleep? And like, because I feel like with babies, there's a lot of caring and I just feel like the work sets in after about 2 to 15 minutes. You get about 2 to 15 minutes of like, oh, this is so awesome being with my baby and me and just me and my baby, because you're out of town. So then it's just you're taking over. You're giving the other person a break. You're just like, oh, it's just, and you get about 2 to 15 minutes of like, this is so light. And then it's like, whoa, oh, this is going to last. So I think that's what it's like when you go on the road as a parent or you travel when they're babies. And especially if you're like, you become a primary caretaker when you come back, because it's like, it's a job, it's work. And people who say, yeah, but it's the best job, for sure, it's a great job. But I'm not insulting. You can have a job that also is fun and fulfilling, and you might miss all the good parts. That's the great part about life. You usually remember the good parts and miss those, and all the parts that kind of like were traumatizing, they're just, they'll float away, hopefully. But when now at Jack's age, he's super easy to take care of. 5-year-olds are incredibly easy to care for versus babies. They don't sleep as much. So I don't get that. The best part about babies is like the naps, man. Jack napped, and that was just like a reset. It wasn't like you were trying to get a full night's sleep every night. It was just like, you're going to get that nap. He's going to sleep. And if for some reason it's short, he'll sleep a lot at night. It was just a thing. And now it's just like, he's awake. That's the only thing. But he's super cool when he's awake. And so now as the parent, when I leave, I don't look at the videos and miss him, because I know when I'm back, I'm going to spend all my time with him. It's going to be fun. So I don't know if other traveling parents can relate. It's still work and stuff, but when they can run around and sort of play and take care of things and be excited about stuff. And also kind of understand where you're coming from. Like, when you travel as a parent of a baby, that baby doesn't know what you've been through or haven't been through when you're there all the time, every day. But, like, if Jack goes to sleep a little late and wakes up early and I'm like, hey, we're going to take a nap, he'll be like, you can go to sleep, Dad. Is this interesting? I think the point is that I lost my point. But I think that I don't miss it as much, but it's easier when I get back, which is weird. Why don't I miss it as much? I don't know. Maybe he was cuter. That could have been it too. They grow fast all the time. Anyway, it was a great day yesterday with my son. Today was a wander, a lot of traveling. A lot of traveling. If you haven't been to Las Vegas in recent times and driven there, here's my advice. I don't know if I have advice. I'm just going to tell a story. Maybe there'll be advice in the story, and then you'll be like, he said he wasn't giving advice, but I feel like because I lived through his experience, I gave myself advice through insight into his story. Oh, back to being a parent thing. One thing I learned today, this is not even advice. I never thought that I could do that. I thought when a kid wakes up, they're just awake. But this morning, Jack woke up at 6 a.m., which is pretty early for falling asleep around 11:30 p.m. It's not what time we went to bed. He just, was pretty amped. And I found that it's just easier to write it out right now and see if that works. I think he's playing me in the long run, but I'm getting shorter victories. Like yesterday, he wanted ice cream. And we were already eating dinner, and he's like, I'll eat more food if I eat ice cream. But he didn't say it like he was making a deal with me. He wasn't like, Dad, you want me to eat that steak? I'm going to eat some ice cream, and I'll eat all that steak. It wasn't like I was working with organized crime. I shouldn't judge. I don't know if organized crime is nice or not. I'm sure everyone's doing the best. I can't speak on the behalf of. But my son leaned it, and he was like, I don't know if he leaned it, but he was like, Dad, he just said it like matter of fact, like, I eat more food if I eat ice cream, which is kind of the best way to threaten somebody, just like casually. Yeah, I'm never going to eat again if you don't give me ice cream. Is kind of what he was saying. Like, Dad, I eat more if I eat ice cream. So, and I believed him because I think I feel like when I listen to stuff like that, I think I've talked about this before, that I'm being like a good parent, like an insightful person. Like, oh, yeah. You're supposed to wait to have dessert till after meals, but maybe I'm just a genius parent. Maybe I just know what's going on. And really, it's like he's playing me the whole time. I don't even realize it. So he eats some of the meal because he knows, I guess he felt that we were going to have to eat some of it. And then, or maybe not. Maybe there's no devious plan at all. Maybe he's just landing on every right move to get the maximum amount of ice cream per food intake. He's just waking up in the morning being like, I'm going to eat as much ice cream as I can for the amount of food that I eat. And he's just been successful lately. Because we started to eat, and then he's like, Dad, I want vanilla ice cream, and it's going to be, I'll make you later. So I was like, all right. So we ate a little more, and then I got him some vanilla ice cream. And then he did eat the whole vanilla ice cream cone. And he has cones, too. Rarely did I have ice cream cones growing up. Did anybody? Here's the thing. Here are my thoughts. I get the appeal as a child. You get the cone, you get ice cream. It's in your house. You have an ice cream store in your house. The only difference between your freezer and an ice cream store are the cones to put the ice cream in, because that's the only difference. And if you can bring the cones to your house, then you have an ice cream store. And that doesn't mean that you don't get to go to the ice cream store. That just means that you have one in your house. And he talked me into getting ice cream cones, but so we did, and he ate the whole ice cream cone, and then he had more food. But it wasn't like, he talked it up a little bit more. than I thought it would be. So he's still winning. But what I heard was recently from some parental advice is that you should not force kids. You don't have to give kids ice cream. You don't have to give kids the food that they want. That's not something. You just sort of, one Instagram parent, which is funny to think about, just a parent who's giving advice on how to be a parent, but then at the same time being like, I gotta tell people this. Like, it just seems like it'd be hard to be like a very great present parent and also be like, oh, this is gonna be perfect. We're gonna get lots of followers and likes and views. Not judging. It's been very helpful to me. I would love to have some parenting magazines or some podcasts I could listen to. I'm sure they're out there. So it's very nice. It's just, you take what you get. But this one lady said that, I think she's a psychologist even. I don't think she was a parent. A lot of family psychologists are parents too. Kid psychologists. I don't know. I feel like we're all child psychologists. Otherwise, you can't be a parent, Like, if I don't know what's going on in his head, then he would just destroy the day every day. Rule the day, not destroy. Everything's great. So, he, I listened to this Instagram. This is me passing out advice. Use it as you will. That you don't have to give your kid whatever food he wants. You don't have to give your kid anything. You get to choose the food your kid wants or eats or whatever. And you get to choose the time they eat it. But they'll figure out quickly or whatever that how to like eat. You shouldn't, in this person's opinion, you shouldn't be like, hey, you got to eat this much food before you get this food, or you shouldn't do this. You got to eat this food before, because then you learn how to like regulate the food that they eat on their own. Have the desire to eat come from hunger and within, and I think Jack still has that, so that's good. If you say like, oh, you got to eat to get big and healthy or whatever, like he said that recently, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm breaking that Instagram lady's rule, because I was like, oh, you eat these vegetables, you get big and strong. And then he's like, I'm not hungry, but I want to get big and strong, Dad. I'm like, no, I changed my opinions after watching one video. That's what I did. Don't listen to old me. Listen to me new, enlighten me after seeing parental Instagram reels. I'm so glad that I've fallen onto like good parenting Instagram reels. Like, it would be weird to see like a parody one that was like a really good parody one that you didn't know was bad, but the point was bad. Like, they're so good at doing it that you're like, oh, I think that's real advice. I always thought that. I didn't always think. I did think that like when Jack was born, there was all these things I didn't know about being a parent that I found out about that have even changed since when I was a kid, or baby. Like, I remember when I was a baby, I don't remember this. That's one of the times I remember it was I don't remember. My mom told me that when I was a baby, she would put us on her stomach to sleep on our stomachs, and then like with my son, they said don't do that until he can roll over on his own because they could die, and my mom was like, we used to do that all the time, and it's just so, she said it so casually, like she wasn't even like questioning it, like, yeah, that's how you get a kid to go to bed. They almost die. Like, sleep is almost death. Put him close. Like, I don't think we should be like just vocalizing that, Mom. It's not a good. But also wonder what things we're gonna learn that we're doing right now that are, there's way better ways to do them, or even they're not safe. Like what? You had your child sleep in a crib? No. You gotta hang him by his feet on a ceiling fan and spin him around slowly. Yeah, that way the blood doesn't circulate. That's a big problem. Oh, I can't believe you put him in a crib. The crib is for video games that they play at such a young age now. But you got to give your kid video games. That's another parenting thing I heard. A lot of podcasts, I feel like people do research and it's like formulated. And they're like, I'm just like, oh, I remember. Got to get this one out there. I also heard that the whole screen thing issue, there was a study done. I think it was a study. It might have just been a study of my brain on the article. And I made it a study, because I didn't read the whole thing. This is one of those article things. That was going to be a new segment from last week. News articles that I didn't read the whole thing, but have an opinion on. Man, maybe this is that one. So this article said that kids, the whole screen time thing, the stress of limiting a child's screen time is causing more detachment with their child than the actual screen time. So it's basically being like, hey, if you're constantly worried about how much time your kid's on a tablet, then that's going to be suck more for you and your kid. than it would be to just let them play on it for a while longer. Which I feel like those studies are just looking at me as a parent and being like, he's got it down. Because I feel like that. I feel like I heard that if you're engaged, if you're doing it with your kid, then it's not really screen time because they're playing with you. So all the screens he does, I do, which means that I get to play video games, and also that my house never has all the laundry folded, because that's when I would do that. Anyway, I don't think I said the advice I had first. I started something before and I didn't get back to it. But this morning, Jack woke up at 6 a.m. And when Jack wakes up, he says, "Dad, it's morning," which is a very, I really like, that's a nice way to wake up. I got to record that somehow and just make that an alarm. I mean, that might be creepy when he's older, but just like on the road, just like, "Dad, it's more," that could be really creepy. Can you imagine waking up in a dark hotel room in a city you don't remember you're in? And it's like, "Dad, it's morning." What? Huh? Where am I? No. But it is nice when it's real. Jack says, "Dad, it's morning." He just says it as if like, "Dad, I noticed this thing. I noticed this thing that's probably important to you, but you didn't notice yet." That's what it sounds like. Like, Dad, I love you." I put that part in. But, "Dad, I love you, and I want you to know this thing that's probably important to you, and no pressure." Like, he doesn't say, like, "Come get me right now." He says, "Dad, it's morning." He does yell it a little loud. And this morning was at 6 a.m. And he went to bed. He fell asleep pretty late, like I said. So I went in there, and I only had been asleep for a short amount of time. And I was like, "Hey, buddy, it's not morning," which is kind of messing with him. It's the solstice or whatever, right? Man, these long summer days. It's easier to get him to go to sleep when it's dark out, I think. Maybe these are just excuses. So he says, "Dad, it's morning." I say, "Hold on, okay? It's not time to wake up yet," because I knew it was way under the amount of time asleep he normally gets. So I knew I had a chance. So I was like, "Hold on. I'm going to lay down here too, and we're going to go back to sleep." And so I went and got my pillow and came back and laid down on the floor, and he was already asleep. He had fallen back asleep just like that. And this is the parenting part, or babysitting part, or aunt-uncling part of the podcast, is that they don't always want to wake up. I think I asked him in the morning, he didn't remember, he was dreaming. But if I had been like, "Oh, he's waking up early. Kids do that. They just wake up early," and then he would have had a horribly tiring day, because he wasn't ready to wake up. So yeah, that's what I learned. You can get a kid to go back to sleep. So anyway, I'm in Las Vegas, and I don't know if you've driven around, but I got excited because I haven't driven to Las Vegas for shows in a long time. I usually was just doing a short flight, but I was like, I'll have a car this time. I'll be able to leave after the show Sunday so I can, wake up in my own bed and sleep more and all that stuff. I drove in, and I left my glasses in the car because I changed my contacts because I thought I was going to be late for my show at a rest area. These are the details that I could have left out. But the thing was, I was like, "Oh," and they want you to valet the car because if you park in the lot, they got to give you a pass. And I got the feeling from the comedy club that there's a limited amount of passes, and it's just easier if you valet. I'm not a big valet guy. I just feel like I have trouble letting people do things for me. That's something we've talked about before. That's something I've talked about before. And I think a valet thing is another one of those moments. Today I was late, not late, but later than I should have been, not for the show, but just for being here. And I had a bunch of luggage because I was driving. I just threw everything in the car, and they were like, "Do you want help bringing it up?" And I was like, No, I just want to check in. And then I came back down. I was like, "You know what? I would like help bringing it up. That would be great." And then they were like, "All right." So they put all the bags on this cart. And maybe this is how it is at nicer hotels that I'm not used to staying at. They put all the bags on the cart, And then they gave me a little tag, and they're like, all right, when you go up to your room, call this number, and they'll bring them up to you. And I'm just not used to that. Like, I'm used to bringing all my bags on myself, first of all. But if someone, like, has to help you, like, sometimes you're at a hotel that, maybe it's a little nicer, maybe somebody else booked it, and it's like, oh, this is just, like, rude to not let them help you, especially. I always, like, carry it myself, but sometimes it's like I'm dragging 3 bags. I'm like, well, this isn't right. I can just tip a few bucks or whatever, $5. 10. How much are you supposed to a bag? Yeah, I feel like that sends to a bag. $2 a bag. I don't know. I Google it. So I go. I'm like, and I was like, okay. So they're like, well, we'll put them on this cart. Then you call them. I'm like, well, what? How long is it gonna take? And like, it'll come right now. And I'm just like, well, why doesn't? I'm used to the person going up with me. I guess I like the trip. I like the conversation in the elevator. I don't know if I like it, but I thought it was weird to be like, so I'm putting this on here, putting all my bags on this cart, and then I'm going to go upstairs, and I'm going to call you, and you're going to have somebody else bring them up? Like, not for whatever. I don't want to be Mr. Detail Guy, but that seems like I'm going to be there first, and it's not super easy. So I was like, I'll just carry him. And then the guy came over. He's like, I'll just carry him with you. And I was like, okay. I'm not a big fan of the valet, is what I was trying to say. And, because I leave stuff in it, and then you got to get your car, and then someone goes and gets it, and it's you don't know where your car is. Like, if my car is lost, I want to be the one to lose it. That's all I'm trying to say. If it's parked in a part of a garage where nobody knows, and you're pressing the thing for horn, I want to be the one to make that move, that mistake. Because you got to get your car. I left my glasses in the car, and it was super hot out. So right after the show, once I left the comedy club, I went and I was like, I got to get my car. And I didn't want to just like, I don't know if you've ever done this before. Have you ever had this happen, sleepers, where like there's something that's kind of embarrassing, and it's almost more embarrassing to be embarrassed about it than it is to actually be embarrassed about it. Like, I just wanted my car, so I get my glasses out of the car. But I didn't want to go through the whole point of valeting a car and then be like, oh, I just wanted these. I just forgot these. I don't even know why I feel like that's embarrassing. I think this is the embarrassing part. Being like, that's not even, people leave stuff in cars all the time. But it just feels weird because it's like, thank you for getting my car. Here's a couple bucks. Also, I don't need the car anymore. Like, anyways, it was really hot outside. I didn't want to leave my glasses in the car overnight and be really hot. So I got my glasses and I was like, all right, well, now I'm going to use the car. So I was like, I'll drive to go get food in Las Vegas, which I would recommend never, ever, ever again. At least late night. Because I feel like if you go somewhere when things are open, you can have a place to park, you can have a mission, you can know where you're going to go. I was just like typing in places that said they were open, and apparently Google Maps doesn't like to update their hours with what time the people working there just want to be done that day. So I went to one restaurant and they were like, we're done serving warm food. That's a weird thing to say. I feel like you just sort of say we're just doing appetizers or bar food, but they're like, we're not serving warm food. Oh, well, that could be sushi. First off, that's not bad for people. I mean, that could be cold food. Do you have sushi? Is that something you have right now? Cold food? Just cheesecake? Like, so I went to a different restaurant. That one was closed, even though online said it was. And I just walked and walked and walked. Las Vegas, when you're walking around, it's like a life-size game of chutes and ladders. It's like you want to go over there, so you got to go up and then down, and then go over and then up and down. Have you played chutes and ladders in a long time? I have not. I'd like to think that it's harder than it was when I was a kid. I don't know if this is important to get into or not. I don't know of any of this. I feel like the new location has been beneficial in the sense that there's a cool view. But if you're just listening, I don't know if it's beneficial at all. I mean, I think there's just something about having your child asleep in 2 rooms down that gives you a little extra boost, a little extra energy. It's like, I'm doing something right now. I should be asleep right now. I should be asleep. I think the whole thing is I was starving because I didn't get to eat before the show because I got there so late because of traffic, and I was sleeping. Took a nap too, and I was so hungry. So, Chutes and Ladders. I don't know if Chutes and Ladders would be fun as an adult. I do know that I've played Candyland with Jack as an adult, and it doesn't seem like that fun of a game anymore. And I talked to somebody recently, and they had a similar experience. They're like, I don't remember Candyland being so short. I feel like there was a different version of Candyland when we were kids that was like longer and more intense, and for kids, but not boring for adults. Candyland with Jack isn't boring because he stacks the deck. He started that this year. He puts the cards where he wants to have them, and then he's like, "You go first, Dad." And I might have talked about this before. I'm just like, I just fall for it every time because usually I want him to go to bed, and if he wins, it's easier to make him go to bed. And that's where I'm as a parent. I'm like, well, he's learning how much he loves to win, and I mean, he's learning a little bit of like cheating, I guess, but he doesn't know. He knows. I think he knows it's cheating, but he doesn't. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I feel like, oh, as a parent, which is what I am, you should always like have a vision for how you want to convey the truths of life to your child in a way that helps them grow on their own, but also in a way that's beneficial to themselves and maybe society. And then sometimes I'm like, I think they just got figured out. I think they just got to get it, you know? They'll just get it. They'll just get it. Like, I think about the things I worry about or think about, and I'm like, well, is he really not going to be able to read, you know, or count? Like the things that we put so much time into. Is he really just going to skip that part? Is he just going to grow up not knowing it? Like, there is so much put in place to make sure your kid can read, whether it's TV or school or whatever. Like, really, how many word games do I need to play with him? He's going to learn. Like, when it gets heavier, we talk about other stuff that's important, you know, like bigger ideas that I want. But reading, he's going to know letters. He's going to know letters. I know some people don't have that privilege, maybe, of being in a country or a city or a town or where they have the support system to learn and to read. But I think he's going to learn to read. One thing I do like talking about things with him is like when we're reading books, he really likes to know why certain things happen in a book. And I think that's very important because as a comedian, I live in a town in LA where a lot of people that write screenplays and write for sitcoms those are really good careers. And if he grows up around people that sort of know how to tell a story and know where the story problems are, then that could help him out. So when we're reading a kid's book and he's just saying stuff so he can stay up, you know, like we'll turn a page. He's like, why is this here? Like, I'm trying to think. My friend made a comic book called Super Toast Man, and it's not for kids, but he found it in his stuff. I didn't think he'd actually want me to read it, but it's like it's one of his favorite books now. And there's a point in the comic book where the main character is hypnotized and is hypnotized into bringing the mayor to the bad guy's lair. And you can see in his eyes that the guy is hypnotized. And then something bad happens to the mayor, and all of a sudden the guy's not hypnotized anymore. And Jack's just like, why isn't he hypnotized now? And I was like, that's a really good question, you know? And those are the kind of educational conversations I want to have with my son. Is like, why? I'm looking around because I hear a noise, but I know it's just a hotel. Why is something happening when it shouldn't happen or whatever? Because that's really important. When you're watching a movie or TV show, you don't want to be like, well, that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Anyway. What do you guys want to talk about? When I started out as a stand-up comedian, I would do a lot of open mics, and I always felt like that you shouldn't get to a point where you're saying, what do you want to talk about? But as a podcaster, I have more of an open judgment on that because, you know, and it's worse because you can't even say anything. I've had a lot of fun this past week. I drove on the road. I was in what is that noise? New Jersey to Pennsylvania, and then after my show in Pennsylvania, I found out that some of my family members were going to a Cleveland Guardians baseball game on Friday night. So I drove after my show at about 10 p.m. to Cleveland, Ohio, which is about 7 hours away. I got in about 5 or 6 a.m., went to sleep during the day, and woke up and went to the game with my cousins, or not my cousins, my nieces and nephew and aunt and uncles and older brother. And it was really, 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 really fun. And that's what it's like to be on the road. Almost everybody there was like, why did you do that? And I'm like, well, because I had a day off. And it's either drive and hang out with people I like, or just, I guess I could have gotten work done. Which is good to do that. One thing I'm really excited to do is to clean my apartment. I think that's the biggest change that no one tells you. I feel like I've said that statement a lot in these podcasts. I feel like I've said this statement a lot in these podcasts. I think the one of the biggest things of being a parent of a child who's not a baby anymore is like they don't nap, so they're up and they're very engaging, and there's not a lot that you can do. You can do some cleaning and stuff, but I never realized that cleaning my house could bring me so much joy, or folding laundry could be so much joy. Like if you might have noticed on my reel, I matched all my socks recently, and it was very exciting. It was quite a journey emotionally, but to get it all done felt so good. And I got a lot of comments on social media about how, like, who cares about matching socks? And sometimes I feel like when people watch stuff on social media, they, when people come to a comedy club, they're usually there to laugh. And if they're not, then maybe they got a free ticket and they're just going to be quiet, and that's fine too. But I think sometimes when people get on social media and they see videos and they're just like, oh, this person has a real problem. And it is a real problem. That's the great part about comedy, not to get into like jokes and the theory of developing them. I think the best part about life and stand-up comedy is that I can say something, or like just comedy in general, I can say something that I believe that is true to me, and in an emotional way that is true, and not necessarily heightened in an outrageous way, just like to the way of like I'm really feeling it, and hopefully the goal is to make people laugh. But some people see it and they're like, they try to fix it, and I'm like, well, first off, I love every part about the things I'm complaining about too. So it's not like with the socks thing, I had a video about matching socks and how stressful it is to match socks. And I've gotten so many advice comments, which are great. All the advice comments are very great, but some of them are just kind of mean, where they're just like, who cares? Why do you need to match socks? And it's just like, well, you did, in some sense. This algorithm that is, probably millions of dollars, worth millions, maybe billions of dollars, looked at all the videos you watched and all of your social media activity online, and they saw my video and about figuring out how to match socks as a parent of a young child and how like stressful and time consuming that can be. And they were like, I think you'll like it. Or I think you'll watch it at least. And then you did watch it. And then you engaged with it. So I think you care about matching socks, or madame, or everybody. You might care. Who cares? Maybe you did on some level, which is why you have to say, who cares? Like, it's just... The comments definitely help the conversation sometimes, and definitely like people see it more. But it's just like, come on. Like I was in, now we're just talking about reels. And now we're just commenting on our social media's comments. I posted a reel, a YouTube video about how when you go to the bathroom at the gas station, they give you a key if it's outside. And there's always a big stick attached to the key. And I just think it's weird that they're like, hey, you want to go use the bathroom? Here's this thing that everybody touched right before and after using the bathroom. And it's very big stick that's got a lot of surface area, right? That bacteria can just jump on. And I got so many comments of like, why you go to the bathroom in the gas station if you don't like it? And I'm like, yeah. I know. But I mean, come on. I guess it's my job to complain in a way that people don't find offensive. Not offensive, but find problems with. Yeah, it is a fun job. This is a great job. I was driving last week and I drove past a volunteer fire department, which that's got to be a tough job because I love fire departments, but I would want to get paid, right? Volunteer fire, like volunteer is for like, I don't know, like can you help out a little bit? Volunteer fire department is like, will you come save my life? Volunteer, like it's just a lot. Maybe it is better though, because when you're getting paid to do something, sometimes it's like, well, I'm getting paid, and so isn't it weird that the quality could go down a little bit because you're getting paid? When you're doing something for free, you put it all in, right? Like one time, I was in my apartment in Los Angeles, and someone in my apartment had left the gas on the stove, and I just gotten back late at night. I landed, got back late at night, and I smelled it. You can smell it, which is good. And I got concerned because I felt like my house was going to blow up if I, made a spark or whatever. Or not blow up. Whenever I feel like there's like a fire that could happen around me, I just imagine the scene from Home Alone 1 where Joe Pesci's character's like hair is on fire and his whole face gets like on fire. Like it's going to be fiery, but you're going to survive. Like a cartoon explosion, I think. That's what I think. And so so I was really worried. So I called the fire department, and it was kind of the middle of the night, and it rang a couple of times, which is weird. I think I must not have called 911, or maybe I got transferred to the fire department because it rang a couple times, and someone answered the phone. And I don't know if you've ever called your friend like early in the morning, which I'm never up before people. Like I'm rarely ever awake before somebody. Like if you're ever worried that you're going to call me too early, you're right. I'm probably, unless I'm with Jack, because he's like, Dad, it's morning. Dad, it's morning. Oh, thank you, Jack. Oh, it's morning. Yeah, I was sleeping still because I didn't know it was morning. If I had known it was morning, I would have popped out of this bed the second it was morning. But now that you've let me know, I get to have my morning, because there's no way I would want to sleep through that, because it's just the same as afternoon, but lets me sleep more. Thank you for telling me it's morning. Who taught my kid that morning is when you wake up? Come on. It is where people wake up, but anyway, that was a comeback. So I called the fire department, and this podcast is going to be really good next week. Not that this isn't good. This might, sometimes I listen back and I'm like, oh, that was good, I just yeah. I just feel like I kind of had a traumatic experience trying to drive around and get food in Vegas. I never finished that story. The restaurants weren't open. I got Fat Burger, which was great, but it was so hungry and it was so expensive. For Fat Burger, it was like $30 for a burger and fries. It was really good. But it's like, that's my second meal. I gotta get 3 meals, and look how dark it is. It's morning. It's gonna be morning soon. I'm not going back out there though. That's the whole point. And I had to pay for parking too. Just eat the food that's close to you. That's all I was trying to say. But I made it. I just feel like this is the other thing when you're traveling as a parent of a young child. The time that you have to yourself is so rare. So when you get it, there's this pressure to be like, I gotta get everything out of this that I can, Like, there's so much stuff that I don't get to do when I'm home that I gotta try to do it all now. Like, I've contemplated going back home in between shows in Vegas. Like, if flights are really cheap, just fly back home so I could, fold laundry and fly back. That's how crazy it is to be a parent for everybody. I'm sure everybody would do that. I'm not the crazy one. Everybody would see my apartment and be like, he should go back home in between. Because, there's so much free time here, and I'm just here. But also, there's not a lot of free time. It's going to go away. Before you know it, it's time to go do a show. And then it's Tuesday, and then it's Wednesday, and then it's Thursday, and then it's Friday, and then Saturday. That's actually a long time. I think I'm going to be okay. And then July happens, and, so everything slows down a little bit. So anyway, I call the fire department, and the guy answers like, I woke him up. I 100%. And this wasn't a volunteer fire. This is just a sleepy fire guy. That's not the image you usually get when you think of firemen, just a sleepy guy. And I was like, someone left my gas on, I can smell it. So do we gotta go stay in a hotel, or what should we do? And he's like, just open the window. I was like, well, I can smell it. And he's like, yeah, just open the window. And like, I could tell he was right. I knew that he was right, but part of me was just like, he's also a little sleepy, What if he's dreaming this conversation, and in the dream conversation, I'm like, it's hot in here. How do I make it not hot anymore? And he's like, just open the window. But I'm really being like, there's gas in here. So we went and stayed at a hotel, and it was fine. But that's that. So yeah, I got 7 days. I think that's the thing. That's the thing I've realized and learned. And if you're not a parent, I think it relates to that in some ways. Like there's times where you just get extra time to do something, like you get time off work. Like I feel like I've had an issue where, man, you're not my therapist, right? I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't have a therapist because someone might get upset because we've done therapy before. I don't go. I feel like when I have a responsibility like a child all the time, every day, except for the couple days where I'm traveling for work, then I get the whole week to be on the road in a town where I'm not traveling at all. I feel like this anxiety to be like, I got to get everything done and right and perfect, because this time isn't going to happen again for a whole nother year if I work here again. Because this is like, as a comedian, you don't get weeks like this. There's not weeks where you just have weeks in one city. So I'm going to let that go. I think talking about it to everybody here has allowed me to realize that it's not worth worrying about, Michael. And if you're worrying about something right now and you're listening to this, just know it's not worth worrying about that either. You're going to do great. And if you're not worried about it, then that's also great. But then what happens if, like, you just let things go and your whole world falls apart? Like, are those people not worried, or are they so worried they're just letting things go? Because I think about that sometimes. Like, if I let go of all the worry, then what is the purpose? Like, is the worry really have no purpose? Like, is there no purpose at all to worry? Like, will my world? And I think that's the whole point. Is it won't fall apart. Everything will be fine. You'll live in. But like, what about? How do I know? How do I know? You just gotta know. I think the fire department was probably right. Anyway, Jack's great. This has been, I just got my kid to sleep, but I didn't get him to sleep because I'm in Las Vegas until next Sunday for 7 days. 7 days in Vegas. I'll be in Chehalis, Washington in July, but other than that, it's just me and my son. So this is episode 16 or 15. I don't remember. I think it's 16. 16 sounds right. It just goes by like that. You ever do something once a week and then you get back to it again? Like, really? It's already a week? Like, I always thought a week was really fast. And then, but when now I'm recording a podcast, I'm like, that was so long ago. Look at all that's happened. I appreciate if you're following my career, the shows. Check it out on my website. I have an email list I send out every other Friday. I post on Instagram at Michael Palasak, YouTube. Send me comments. Email michael@michaelpalasak.com. Merch is on my website, michaelpalasak.com. I also have a special that we have a timeline for possibly being released in the fall. That was recorded in my hometown of Wabash, Indiana, but we're going to be done editing it in August. So we'll see where it goes and lives. So that's all my news. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Thank you. If you're still listening, I'm still saying thank you. This is what this view looks like.